Welcome, my name is Andreas Patikis and I'm the founder of the Grey Cotswolds, where we offer unique courses and retreats around stress and well-being, anger management, parenting and sports performance for a healthier mind and body. Our venues are set in the beautiful and relaxing Cotswolds countryside with luxurious private dining and facilities. Our specialist team have vast knowledge and experience with beneficial therapies and advice, all in one place, to help with any challenges and empower you for life. Discover a new way of living through our podcasts and prepare to enter a world that is not black and white. Let us accept the colours in between. Welcome to the Grey Cotswolds. So, hi everyone. Today I'm joined by Olga and she's going to be talking about the resilient mind. So, Olga, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, Andrea. Thank you very much, first of all, for hosting me and being part of this lovely project. I'm Olga Konstantinidou, and I'm a consultant clinical psychologist, HCPC registered. I'm coming from Greece, and I live in UK the past 8 years. So I completed most of my academic kind of education in Greece, in Aristotle University, and then my early clinical training in Greece as well. So in UK, I worked as a practitioner in independent and national mental health services. And currently I work as a consultant clinical psychologist for the NHS and as a clinical lead for a local mind service. In terms of what I do various many things, but mainly I'm doing my private practice and my experience generally comprises of clinical work with different client groups and in different settings, secure or community-based mental health settings, and people with either acute or chronic presentations. And however, my interest or experience has expanded within the psychology field in areas of consulting, leadership, service development, and this is what I'm kind of trying to combine the juggle at the moment, my clinical side and my managerial side, leadership side. So this is what I do.
I suppose times are changing and we're looking at clients' needs, aren't we? There's a lot of change, especially over the last 2-3 years, and with what you're saying and what you're doing and your interests, I suppose there's a great need for that now.
Yes, absolutely. I think pandemic has changed a lot. Our experience has definitely deteriorated and had a detrimental impact in our mental health, in our relationships, in our relationship with ourselves. And I think that the whole world finally shifted their attention to their mental health and their needs, if you like, emotional needs, more than ever before. So yeah. Definitely that's the opportunity for us to help support and contain this process.
Yeah, definitely an opportunity and definitely a need. So what are you hoping to bring to the Grey Cotswolds for us?
Well, first and foremost, my excitement about the whole project, the idea, and very much faith in the purpose that the team represents at Grey. Helping people to reinvent their lives sits at the core of what I do and why I do my job. So having some sort of contribution in that process is very much what I want to do, and I will definitely bring along my experience, my knowledge, my expertise, if you like, in managing stress and whatever comes with dealing with challenging moments in life. Enabling people really to share their own experiences, to learn new skills, but also evolve and develop their existing ones in dealing with stress, but something above and beyond that as well.
And how would you generally go about that?
So generally in my practice, and my philosophy kind of come together. I very much support the idea that the most important relationship we can have is the one we have with ourselves. And the most important journey is the one of self-discovery. So taking the responsibility of ourselves and being courageous enough to get into this journey to discover yourself, to be able to connect with yourself, sit alone with yourself and your difficulties, is very much what I believe is the key and the answer, if you like, in the change. Along with that, of course, I believe that I have a genuine interest and care in human pain. That has always been my kind of inclination to support people, and this is what I do in my practice. So in that sphere, I very much try to support people, working with them as a team. Okay, as I said earlier, taking the responsibility of yourself in this journey is paramount. So I walk, if you like, the path with them, but I highlight to them that I'm not going to walk it for them. So I can offer this space, the safe, confidential, empathetic, non-judgmental space for them to be able to do the work with me. So we put our heads together, we try to conceptualize, we try to work through what they've been through, what the struggles are, what the blockers are towards change. And I am trying to support them with strategies, as I said, with my knowledge, with my expertise and my experience, but working very closely with their strengths and embracing their weaknesses and their existing strategies, because it's really important to start from a basis, from a foundation. And it's really important to acknowledge that people do have that knowledge, do have their own resources. So what can we expand that? It's really important. In terms of the technicalities, I very much draw from cognitive behavioral therapy as an overarching umbrella, but I draw different strategies from other therapeutic interventions that I've been trained on. So I really support my clients to build their own individualized toolkit in managing challenging situations and move forward in life and build a life worth living for them. So very much in this process, tailoring my approach to their own needs and focusing on the person I have in front of me.
So very much a collaborative approach.
Yes.
Clients getting some self-awareness and looking within and taking some responsibility, and choices, making their choices in life.
I think this is the most important part. Once something becomes more conscious and you take responsibility, there's no alibi anymore. So then it becomes a choice.
So with stress, what causes stress, and do we need to intervene with stress?
Well, it's really important just to understand what stress is. And for me, it's very much reading through research and through various definitions that are out there with regards to stress. Is very much an opportunity for us to adjust and adapt into a new, demanding, sometimes threatening situation. That situation most of the time disrupts our psychological functioning or our physiological homeostasis. So with that in mind, we need to be very careful here, because not everything is threatening to the extent that we need to intervene and finally seek for professional support. So if we look at the types of stress, we need to keep in mind two types of stress, okay? The one is what we call the positive stress, is the F stress, is the one that helps us and motivates us to take an action in a changing environment. So is the one that really helps us to keep that level of alertness to be able to survive, first of all, and secondarily to respond in the demands out there and motivates us and keeps the energy flowing. There's also a level where the stress exceeds that level and it becomes a distress. And this is where we talk about harmful stress. This is the stress that causes illness. This is the stress that could resemble burnout. So these situations is where we seek professional support, and we need to intervene depending on what works and doesn't work in someone's life, but definitely an intervention is required.
While you're speaking, I've made a couple of notes there, because the things that are jumping out for me when you're speaking is my own personal experiences of stress, And going back to our mantra here at the Grey, two of the words that strike me there are balance,
yes,
and awareness.
yes,
And that balance, I think, is key. Where you say, like you say, some of the stress drives us. We need it to get things done, don't we?
yes.
And it's sometimes when we just maybe push that too far, where it's affecting our lives in a negative way, or we're struggling in life. And that's the balance, and being aware of that.
Yes, absolutely. Is very much, as I said, that kind of bring me back into the idea of zooming in and zooming out in these moments. And sometimes it's very difficult to do. I understand that. But in the process of how I decide to approach any stressful or challenging situation, is very much the bigger picture is required, but also the smaller picture. It's me within the environment, it's the environment and me. So this process of helicoptering, zooming in, zooming out, it's very important in the process of deciding a more balanced approach. And I choose deliberately my words in terms of deciding, because it's a choice, it's a decision once you have understood, built that awareness, and recognized your own contribution in this pattern.
Sure. And that awareness gives you the ability to choose. And I think choice is a very apt word in when we're talking about wellness. And I think resilience then comes into it. So what would you like to say about resilience in all of this?
So I'm going to go back. It's really important to have an overarching idea of what each concept stands for. So resilience is very much this ability to adapt and adjust successfully in challenging situations that can be a trauma, an acute stress, or a chronic stress, or any adversities in life. Resilience is that ability that gives us the opportunity to be able to bounce back. And that can happen through emotional control, through impulse control, through optimism, causal analysis. So all these attributes need to come into the play to gain back our psychological well-being and our physiological homeostasis, which is paramount. Everything works in balance. And even when we talk about well-being and wellness in general, now the modern approach is very much looking at well-being through different dimensions. So when all these dimensions are in balance, this is where we can build the life we want. This is where we can improve the quality of our life. So it's really important to look at that in combination, in balance, in order to achieve what we want from this process.
Yeah. And how do you build resilience with clients?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. So I guess here we need to be very mindful on how we approach not only resilience as a skill, but any opportunity to build any new skill. There's not a magic recipe, and there's not a magic wand. I'm not a fairy here that can change someone's life until they decide to invest in the process, invest time, effort, and most importantly, consistency in their approach in order to be able to achieve that. Time, effort, consistency, and then grounded expectations, for me, is, if I can call so, a magic recipe in this process of building not only resilience, but any other new skill. With that in mind as an overarching idea, speaking about resilience, we look at basic fundamental skills that we sometimes tend to forget in everyday life. We look at healthy habits. We look at our nutrition, a balanced diet, exercise, sleeping well, self-care, looking after our own needs, what our interests are, and social support, friends, family, relaxation. What do we choose to do to relax? our financial circumstances, our job, our relationships with colleagues. Then we move slowly in what we've already touched upon, that goes hand to hand with resilience, and this is mindfulness. But mindfulness here, not in a sense only of what most people tend to believe, and they come to me, and when I talk about mindfulness, they are all like, mindfulness, relaxation, meditation, okay, yoga. No, I'm talking about mindfulness as a skill, that skill that helps us to build awareness of our inner processes, inner thoughts, feelings, emotions, to connect with our body, but also build awareness of the outer world, and that all in balance. So in the moment, in the presence, but also in a non-judgmental way. We become almost observers of our journey, of our experience. So in that sense, the mindfulness skill is paramount in the process of building resilience. So mindful breathing, body scan, mindfulness exercises, observing your thoughts are really, really important. Another way is through reframing. What we call reframing is learning to identify and dispute irrational thoughts. One of the main barriers, if you like, in any change is our own belief system. So revisiting that system, building awareness on that system, being able to identify the unhelpful cognitive or thinking patterns and being able to challenge them, this will be the key to a more balanced approach and a more healthy thinking style. And finally, for me, is self-compassion. There's a lot to say about compassion, but I will put it in the more simple way, which is being kind and loving to yourself. I know this is very basic and this is very simple, but it's easier said than done. And people tend to forget that, because we all, one way or another, been brought up with the idea that it's selfish to look after your own needs. You need to look after others' needs. You need to support others, care for others, and then that subsequently will make you feel better. Yes, that's true to an extent, but there is a red line where healthy limits are required here, boundaries, and it's really important to look at how am I able to give from an empty vessel, really, when I don't look after myself, when I ignore my needs, when I suppress my emotions, and when I'm becoming almost a bully to myself. So these are some of the ways I personally choose to support my clients with in order to build resilience.
Yeah, that again, you know, where you finished about kindness and compassion, I think that's really important. It always has been, but especially more now. You know, I can think about the angle of me growing up very Greek Cypriot culturally, being the man and what that means, and my beliefs growing up. Yes. So yeah, very, very appropriate. So I've got 2 quick questions for you, quick fire questions. What's your favorite way to relax?
Well, I guess I will start with the general idea of feeling connected and content. How can that play out? Most importantly, through writing. That always helped me to channel my feelings and construct my thoughts. And it's very much, you know, a walk in the nature, reading a book, and connecting with my family and people that I really love, and having this exchange of feelings and connection and being content, really.
Yeah, that does sound relaxing and stress-free. Maybe not always with family.
Well, not always, but yeah, most of the time.
And is there anything people can do to improve their lives today? Any advice?
Right. As I said earlier, with regards to resilience and any other skill, for me, it's really important to keep these 3-4 things in mind. Okay, investment, it's an investment. It takes time from you. It requires effort. It requires consistency and realistic expectations when you start this journey. For me, in the moment and changing your life instantly, there's not a blanket rule. Different things work for different people at different times. But if I have to choose one, for me, the most important one could be having a step back and pause for a moment before you react into any situation. My approach in this is that people will say, well, okay, fair enough. However, it's paramount if you think that if you look at the whole chain, when something happens and we end up in a situation where we feel bad about ourselves, or there's a mismanagement of a situation, or the situation has worsened, or that has an impact in our mental health and our relationships, it's really important to think at which point of this chain, which link I can intervene and change the direction of this chain. So for me, that is pausing and having a step back. That helps you to develop that reflex of almost an action occurred, I process, I reflect, and then I respond, rather than going from A to B, from action to reaction in the moment. That most of the time causes further difficulties and further problems. And I think that it's almost a necessity, if you like, to be able to create this mentality, if you like, in a world that is constantly demanding of you to react in the moment, to give solutions in the moment, to do many things in the moment. Well, bear in mind that our brain is very good at doing one thing at a time and do it well. The fallacy of today's world, where we are all invited and called to work and multitask, this is what has caused so much stress and so many difficulties to people. So we really need to be able to retrain our brain, if you like, in the direction of pausing for a moment, process the information around you, and then choose the right way to respond to the situation, so you can improve really and shape the life you want to live, and the relationships you want to have, and the ways that you want to respond to situations.
And with this, I think people need support, because it's easier said than done, isn't it? And I think, with the right support, and what we'll be offering here at the Grey is, an opportunity to give them these toolkits and help them with that. Olga, we're at the end of time. I feel and I see your passion with the work that you do. It's great to have you on board here at the Grey. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And I just want to close this kind of interaction today with giving a mini tip, the 3 Ps. Always practice, practice, practice. This is what keeps any new skill going. And this is how we build mastery upon that. So thank you very much for today. Thank you very much, and good luck to Grey and all of us in the team. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any thoughts, feelings, or reflections on today's podcast, please leave them on the comments section on our website or social media channels. You can find more episodes and information at www.thegreycotswolds.co.uk. This is Andreas Patikis, your fellow traveller on life's journey, signing off.